Hey, my beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel, Supreme Medium Diviner. Y'all, we got a lot of stuff to cover today. There's a lot of stuff going on in the paranormal world right now, and I want to touch on three things that's really standing out. I'm going to circle back around to the movie Sinners um, because it coincides with what's going on right now, and especially with the Diddy trial and with the Pope being elected, the first American Pope, and the things that I've been talking to you guys about, especially when it comes to religion and soul retrieval. We also going to get into the Annabelle doll. The Annabelle doll is currently on tour. We also going to get into Nottoway Plantation, which burned to the ground on May 15th. A lot to cover. Um, I think y'all are going to find the information quite interesting. But before we get started, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Hit that bell so you can be notified when I drop a video. Also, if you feel compelled, please comment, share, like the video, get it into the algorithm so people can get this information. Please beware of scammers. I do not reach out to anyone. I do not have WhatsApp. You do have to go to my website to book my services. There's a clickable link in my bio to my website. I'm also going to put my website in the description of this video and also my email address if you have any questions or need some assistance. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's, I know a lot of you guys have been following the Diddy trial, and it's quite horrific. And basically, what we have going on is what we call a legal lynching. So, nothing has changed since Jim Crow started. It's just been more modernized. So, you know that during the Jim Crow era, which was post slavery, these were laws set in place to provide segregation and to keep Black people in a certain spot in the South. And as I'm talking about this, my ears are ringing. That means that the frequency has changed. The spirits are around me. The ancestors are around me. They are waiting for me to talk. And my neck was hurting before I did the video. And I told you guys that that's a form of mounting. And when that happens, that means that I got a job to do. Like, they're waiting for me to do what I need to do for the day. So this needs to get out here. So when I say y'all need to get this video in rotation, and I'm gonna put it on all platforms, but please get it in rotation because this is imperative, especially for Black people in America. Okay. So let's get back to it. I just had to share that to let y'all know that the ancestors are very pleased with the conversation that I'm getting ready to have with you guys, okay? So, I'm gonna first start off by saying that I do not feel sorry for anybody on this Diddy trial, okay? I do not feel sorry for these celebrities. Reason being is because when you want to play their game, there are consequences. And it's not right. It's not right at all. Like I said, they turn physical lynching into legal lynching, okay? But that doesn't mean just because, we're not segregated anymore that you don't need to be careful. You could have been doing a lot of stuff within the Black community, but instead you chose to do degenerate things, you know, evil things, disgusting things, that goes along with white supremacy. So if you don't know, the reason why things became what you call legal lynching is because they had to clean it up. They could not continue to have these lynch mobs. So let me just give you a little backstory. So when Jim Crow came in, and it was between 1877 and it died down around like 1960, okay? When it came in, basically Black people, they were targeted for doing things that they didn't do, being accused of things that they didn't do, looking at white people a certain way, just not acting accordingly to what white people felt like they should act, trying to keep them in their place. So what would happen is, they would get accused of crimes, and they would actually have trial. They would actually be tried by a jury. And there are plenty of cases, because I've been doing some research, to where Black people won their cases. Okay. So they were very White supremacy was very like proud to uphold the law, proud to go by the rules, even for black people, okay? Now, it was far few in between that these cases with the black people would be won, but they would still pride themselves of having a due process in the legal system. So keep that in mind. So before the term legal lynching came about, they would have these courts, or these black people would be arrested, and the law would find it in their favor. But what would happen is they would send them back to the jail, or they would arrest them for something else. Okay, what would happen is that these white mobs would come and take the black people out of the jail to take them to another location to lynch them. That's what would happen. And this was something that was constantly done. This was the norm. Sometimes things would be reported to the NAACP. You would have reporters come out and they would do investigating. They would actually even have a trial for the people accused of doing the lynching. And what would happen? They would get off. Even though you would have people, there would be people that would come that would testify in the black people's favor, all that kind of stuff like that. They would be so bold to write newspaper articles telling black people that they have nothing to be afraid of, that white and black people can get along just fine. Just delusional. Okay, so just imagine your ancestors, what they went through slavery. And then we have Jim Crow. We talk about, what we would have done. They were not afraid to stand up for themselves. I'm going to put that out there first and foremost. They were not afraid to stand up for themselves. But what came after was the problem. It was white supremacy, winning by killing them. You know what I'm saying? To kill a white man? What? You must be crazy. So don't get it twisted. They didn't have a problem defending themselves, and we don't have a problem defending ourselves now. It's the law. It's the law that steps in and causes us harm along with white supremacy. So, with okay, so as this went on, it was a conflict of interest when it came to business with other states, especially northern states. They didn't want to be associated with such messiness. And if you understand, each culture has their group of people, let's term that ghetto, that you don't want to be associated with. You're not like them. And white supremacy is no different. They have their ghetto people that they don't want to be associated with. You got to understand white supremacy. They like to move in silence at night to make it look like they're doing everything on the up and up. They want to look like they're your friend. So the degenerate things that they were doing is supposed to be in private. It's supposed to be behind closed doors. Remember, the KKK wore sheets. Okay, they didn't want to let nobody see who they were because it was the doctor in the town. You know what I'm saying? The sheriff. They wore sheets, so they wanted things to be in secret. So you had their ghetto folks that wasn't doing it. You know what I'm saying? So they had to put an end to these mobs, right? And so then what we had was legal lynching. So again, they would follow court proceedings. They would hold the law, but a black man, a black person would be persecuted in no time at all and set for execution. Okay, they already knew what they were going to do. Even with damaging testimony, there were people, even if they didn't kill them, there were people who did the crime who was getting off. Okay, just like that, saying they had no recollection, didn't know what the person was talking about. Okay, so now that I gave you a little bit of history, but if you really want to dive deep into Jim Crow, I really urge you to do that, because if you understand history, you understand what's going on right now. So let's get to the movie Sinners. I'm gonna circle back to Sinners. Okay, this is why I'm circling back. I wondered, Sinners was a hit. Like, everybody loved it, right? And it had a great message. But I wondered, I said, the director Ryan Coogler, why, they allow him to do this movie, and you seen white people coming to defense, white actors coming to defense when somebody had something to say about the movie. And I said, it's an undertone. I know it's an undertone because the celebrity, I'm not mad at the messenger, because they doing what they want to do. We all have sellouts, you know what I'm saying? So it came to me after I've been doing some research. I said, okay, I get it now. Sinners was a dog whistle. It was a dog whistle to let us know what is to come, what is going on. So Sinners opened up, I think on the 18th. It was the weekend of Easter. The Pope died on Easter. The new Pope is an American Pope. And I gave you guys his agenda. And I said it's all about the new doctrine in religion, okay? Sinners was made. That movie was made, and the reason why Mississippi was used is because Mississippi is ranked first in every category when it comes to lynching. They are the number one state. And you remember Emmett Till was lynched in Mississippi, okay? Mississippi had 581 lynchings recorded. 539 of those lynchings were black people. They were the most brutal. It was all wrong, but Mississippi was ranked number one. Georgia was second. Mississippi was ranked number one. Okay. And with the mob before legal lynching and with legal lynchings. Okay. So many of them got off. So you remember in Sinners, it was in the 1930s, and the Klan circled back around to come back the next day after everything had been done to kill the twins and whoever else was there. Okay. So Mississippi was used for a reason. The Delta Blues was brought up because, this was during the Depression, and there was a lot of lynchings going on during this time because of economic grief and things of that nature. And it was hard. It was hard times. Okay. And so that's why that was used to let you know the symbolism. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can be amongst us. You can buy whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. But we're circling back around to take everything from you, even your life. You understand what I'm saying? And look at Diddy. He had so much financial freedom. It was so many things that he could have done. And they circle back around. And he ain't coming up for air. I've done videos on Diddy. I don't talk about it much because I've already done the videos on them last year. I was flooding y'all with it. Okay. We playing catch up right now. Okay. I told y'all he ain't coming back up for air. Okay. So this is a dog whistle, okay, to let white supremacy know, okay, we own it. We own it. And to let black people know, okay, this is what we're going to do to you. But guess what? Guess what, though? It also showed some truth. It showed that we have a power that we can use. But what happened in the end, though? He still died. Why? Why did he still die? Because the vampires who were representing religion, remember I told you here's where the Pope comes in. It's all about a new doctrine. It's all about a new doctrine. They were outnumbered by the vampires. Okay, so he was one man by himself. Even though he got them out, but he had nobody, to protect him. He was one man by himself. We not moving as a unit. We not moving as a unit, okay? We're outnumbered, and religion is making us outnumbered. That's how they get us, with religion, okay? So it was a dog whistle. So legal lynching is still going on, but it can be stopped, because if they can do that, we can do what? We can do it. We have done it. We have it. Okay? You got to remember that. We got to remember that. So I want y'all to understand how important it is for you to get, I've been talking about your soul retrieval, how important it is for you to have your ancestors on your side. So if you're not doing ancestral worship, you need to get with me. If you got blockages that's stopping you from finding out your powers, you need to get me. We need to stop having one unit. And also, there's going to be the energy, and this is going to bring me into the Nottoway Plantation. Don't get it twisted, okay? The energy is strong. We got strong energy, okay? We may not be able to come together outward as a unit, but if this energy can rise up, when I tell you the ancestors are going to come through and do everything for us, along with other people doing stuff in the background. So don't forget that it's other people doing stuff in the background, and that's how it should be. We don't need nobody knowing what we doing, but the energy, let the energy come out. Okay, let the energy come out. Get away from the religion. Put it down. Okay, anything that blocks you from yourself, from your spirit, body, and soul, put it down. You're hindering your powers. You're limiting your powers. Okay, I don't care what religion you are. Put it down. If it's standing in the way of those three things and your ancestors, put it down. Okay, because you're not getting what you need to have this power. And as soon as you put it down, the energy will rise. I promise you it will rise. And again, there are people in the background that's handling business. Okay, so let's talk about Nottoway Plantation. It's in White Castle, Louisiana. It's a plantation that was built in 1859 with 165 rooms by plantation owner John Hampton Randolph. He started off with cotton, but he changed it to sugar. You know, sugar was the number one thing that brought in that moolah. Okay. And this was a rich, not just rich, just wealthy, just high in society. He came from wealth. Him and his wife came from wealth, right? 165 room, 3 story. They called it a castle. This is the oldest historical plantation from antebellum history that was still standing in White Castle, Louisiana. They loved it so much they made it into a resort and a wedding venue. There are quotations from political figures saying, although this was a time of injustice, we got to withhold what we had so we can learn from this. Shut up. Like you make me sick. You make me sick. Okay? And is the house beautiful house. The house was built by the slaves. They had an architect and all that kind of stuff like that, but you know, the slaves labored away to build this house. From what I heard, he had, quarters for the slaves. They had what they needed or whatever. But that don't take away with what was done. Of course, they're going to put that stuff out there, but I got the inside scoop. I done did a channeling, okay? So I told you what happened with the fire in my TikTok video yesterday. I got the story behind it. That's why I go with my spirit, because I got to see the story behind it. I have the story behind it. So remember I told y'all the main people I was seeing was a woman, 2 boys, and a man. So, and it felt like the woman wasn't there and she was coming back for something. Well, here's it is. Here's how it plays out. There is a woman, and she was showing me how she went to go get her wedding cake in the house, but the cake had been put away for a couple of years. Okay, and she went back to get it. She went in the house to get it. So what does this tell me? This tells me that, that man that I saw by the tree, that was probably her husband, and there was some separation there. And there was a woman with her, which seemed to be her mom, and she was like, how my cake's still good? She was like, yeah, your cake's still good. It was like a chocolate cake, and it had like strawberry icing, right? It was pink icing, and she was eating it, right? And I tasted it. It was good. It was good. And the cake fell on the floor. So in my video on TikTok, and the cake rolled out. It fell on the floor, and it was like a sweet roll or something, but it was cake, and it rolled out. Remember I told y'all in my channeling, I kept seeing this long, it looked like paper to me, and it was rolled out on the floor like it was just a trail, right? So I guess what I was seeing, what it looked like paper, for some reason she showed me it being this cake, and I told y'all she blew on it. She blew on it, and the flames sparked, and then it was an explosion. It was in the heart of the house. Well, I think the heart of the house, they had this room that was very dear to the plantation owner. It was the wedding, I think the white room they called it, but that's where they have their wedding venues at, okay? And I went on their website, and it's very beautiful. And they pride themselves on that part of the house. So what that tells me is that they were kept she was kept from her husband, because I seen them together. They finally are together. I'm gonna get to that point. She was kept from her husband, and she went in the house to get her cake that she was owed, and to finish what she needed to finish, which she did. The Nottoway Plantation is down. Okay. Then it don't stop there, right? It don't stop there. She has a sister, and the sister has a husband as well. And the sister and husband were not able to unite the way they wanted to, too. Remember, I told y'all there was a woman inside the house that was picked up off the bed, and she was dead and she was moved somewhere. Okay. So I believe that was her sister who was inside the house and that was died with inside the house. Okay. So they definitely did it, but here's the kicker. Y'all remember the movie Skeleton Key, or better yet, the movie Spell, where people can take people's souls so they can continue to live? They have been here 3 times. I seen them. I saw them, and they're here now in the flesh. In the flesh. Do you hear me? I know what they do for a living, but I'm not going to tell what they do because that may give away who they are. They showed me. That's how I know they're here right now. Okay? So it's one of those things where they so remember I told y'all, like, you can take somebody's soul and you can keep living, like a soul swap. Okay? It's like that. It's really like that. So that skeleton key, the spell, those things can be done. Okay, which I already knew, but I haven't come across anybody that yet that's like still here. So they're still here. And I may tell y'all one day what they do, but I can't tell it because it's gonna give it away, and I'm not trying to blow their spot up. I love it. I love it. Okay. So they're physically here. So what's gonna come out is this is what's gonna come out. It's gonna come out as it was some type of oil leak in the building, okay? And that's what started the fire. That's what's gonna be like the physical element that you see, a oil leak, okay? And it made it electrical, all right? But I saw what she did. And I feel like this happened because of our energy. You hear me? It's our energy. We not playing. We ain't never been playing, but we ain't playing. You understand what I'm saying? We're getting out of that religion and it's not holding us. You don't have no shackles on, and that power is now your own power. So that's what I mean when I say trust the energy. Trust the energy. It's gonna do what it need to do. Okay. And when I tell y'all that this is not the first time I've seen this. This is not the first time that I've seen enslaved people on properties of plantations. And they're fine. Because you know what? That's theirs. They worked that land. It's theirs. You understand what I'm saying? We was even here before they got here. You understand what I'm saying? It's theirs. I see them all the time. Whenever I go on plantations, I smell the food cooking. My kids have come with me. They be like, Mom, you smell that food? I'm like, yup. They always, I don't care what plantation I go on, they always let me smell food. So that makes me feel like that I'm welcome. So if y'all don't know, and I'm about to get into this for my paranormal series and stuff like that, I have a history of going to plantations and I talk to the people if anybody is there, just like I do at the cemetery. So I have a relationship with the plantations too, and they always let me smell the food. When I tell y'all they be there because that's theirs. You understand what I'm saying? That's theirs. They also, I have seen plantations where a lot of the plantation owners, their families are buried on the grounds. They do a certain type of, they bury themselves a certain type of way because they are afraid of being tortured by the slaves, so they don't want nobody to come in, but they can't stop that. But that's another video for another day. I'll get into that. So it wasn't surprising to me when I saw them like on the grounds and all that kind of stuff like that when I went there. But that's the story behind Nottoway Plantation. She was coming back because she was stopped from being with the person, the love of her life. Her sister was not able to be with the person of the love of their life. And they coming back, from what they took. I'm saying? She had her wedding. She should have had her cake. They took all that from her. You understand? And not to be played with. And basically, like I said, this is also why it made me feel like this had happened before. They're still here. Okay? All right. Now, the Annabelle doll. A lot of y'all are like, is the Annabelle doll connected to what's going on at Nottoway Plantation? No, it's not connected to what's going on at Nottoway Plantation. But the Annabelle doll is a hoax, but it's not a hoax. Let me just let you know about this. I channeled the Annabelle doll. The Annabelle doll has the spirit. No, let me just tell you who Annabelle is. Annabelle is a white woman with blonde hair and who does rituals and rituals involving the elite. It's all elite, okay? Elite rituals. And she seems to be the child of the elite, okay? And it's not just her, but that's who Annabelle is. That's the image that I saw for Annabelle. But it's other children of the elite. They come and they have these round table meetings, right? The parents do, the elite people do, and they talk about things that they're going to do. And so they do it. So it's like a cult. So you remember in the first Annabelle movie, right? There, how the Annabelle doll came about is that there was a cult that broke in people's houses and they killed them. And one of the women, when she was bleeding, it got onto a doll, and so the doll became possessed. So it's not far fetched. So Hollywood always tell their true stories, right? So it's not far fetched. I wouldn't say it's a cult, but it's the elites, and they like to, do these rituals. What I saw is that they take the blood from their leg, preferably the thigh, and they basically put it on to something, which I'm assuming is the doll, and they get energy from it. So if y'all are not familiar with spirit dolls, please look at spirit dolls. Matter of fact, the movie Chucky will give you a good example. Spirit dolls are very real, and they have a energy, and sometimes they do have like an entity in them. I have a spirit doll myself. I've seen what my spirit doll looks like. It was given to me by my grandmother. And so how my doll looks, she does not, her spirit does not look like that. Totally different. So the Annabelle doll, the one that they're showing that they're touring right now, looks like a Raggedy Ann doll, but in the movie it looked like a porcelain doll. Okay, so the real one is a Raggedy Ann doll. So the story, so that's what the doll really is. And yes, they do go around committing crimes. I saw it. Okay, and it seems to me just like for the kick of it, just for like to get like transfer of power. When I say they go around commit these crimes, it's not just random crimes. It's transfer of energy, transfer of power. They're getting something from the person that they're doing this with. So that's what's going on with that. Now, the Annabelle doll that they're carrying around, okay, that's on tour right now. And this doll is on tour with the Warrens Occult Museum, which is located in Monroe, Connecticut. So let me give you some background. So the movie was supposed to be based off, like I said, this Annabelle doll that was haunting this woman. And they called these paranormal investigators no, I'm sorry, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Okay, they're paranormal investigators. Ed is a demonologist. Everything is about demons with Ed, and they were called in to get the doll, and so they kept the doll in the museum because the doll was said to be very evil, had an evil entity in it, and it had to be locked away. So the real story behind it, what they're saying the real story is that this girl was gifted an antique doll by her mom, and she gave it to her, and this woman lived in the apartment, the girl, her, and a roommate, and she just put the doll away. And they said that all of a sudden the doll started like moving around and all this kind of stuff like that, and it got really bad to where they wanted to call in a medium. Well, the medium said that it was a little girl that lived in the apartment building that wanted to possess the doll, and said that she just loved being around them. So they say that they gave the little girl permission to possess the doll. Well, long story short, they had a friend guy who would stay over there, and he started getting like scratches and things on him and felt like someone was choking him. So they was like, the doll was moving and all that kind of stuff like that. And they were like, the doll is evil. So they had to call in someone from the Catholic Church. Okay. And then the Catholic Church, they loved Ed and Lorraine Warren, so they called them in. Now, mind you, now they saying this happened around the 1970s. So Ed and Lorraine came in, took the doll, and then that's when they put it in the case. They said that the driving back home, that they almost got into an accident and all that kind of stuff like that. They said when they put it in the case at home and they had opened up their museum, a man came in and started to pick at the doll, and then he got into a motorcycle accident. Lies, 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 lies. I'm gonna tell you that right now. The doll is just something that they have, but the doll is harmless. The doll is harmless, okay? This is the story that they made up because they didn't want to you guys to know the real story of what I just told you, what it's about. Now, mind you, Ed and Lorraine Warren said that they did not mind the movie saying that because it still represented that there was something evil about the doll. No, they didn't mind because that was the truth. And if you don't think Ed and Lorraine Warren told lies, please look up the history of the Amityville horror. That story has been recanted so many times. There have been court cases on that story. There was nothing supernatural about what was going on there. Ed and Lorraine Warren, they also, made money off of that. Ed and Lorraine Warren also made money off the movie The Devil Made Me Do It. Please research that. There's a documentary with the boy that the movie is about, telling you that they never helped them. They never assisted them. The movie saying that all these demons, that was a lie. There's a documentary with him and his family letting you know that Ed and Lorraine Warren did not assist them. They do let you know that they got a book deal, gave them his mother $400 and either 400 or 4,000 and called it a day. That was their biggest. That's when they made it big, when they looked at that little boy story. So, you know, that's what we have there. So, basically, let me tell you how I know that story is fake. So, the first of all, they don't, there's no, you cannot find what apartment complex this is, what apartment building this is. They say that the little girl was 7 years old and she died, but they do not tell you the apartment location. All right. So I did two channelings of Annabelle. In my first channeling, how I know that they're lying and they just use something to get the story, there is a little girl that does haunt an apartment building. I'm going to tell you that it is in New York. And they said it was like in the 1970s. No, this was not like the 1970s. I'm seeing the little girl where I see her haunting. She's way like before her time, but to me, it looks like, around like the 80s and stuff like that, where I see her like haunting. So I don't know where they're getting like 1970 from. I don't know where they're getting it from, but I know it wasn't that time frame. How I know is because how the people were looking, and I was born in 81, and I know what it looked like then. You know what I'm saying? It could have been coming out of the 70s, but it was not early 70s. The girl that is haunting this place, she was kidnapped. She was kidnapped and they looked for her. Okay. Also, what the girl is doing, anybody who moves into the place and they got children, the children can see her. She plays with them and they hide under like in little like cabinets and things like that. She'll tell them to do that. Okay. I believe that they probably heard about a story of a haunting and they used that. Okay. That's what I believe, where they got that from. And they tried to put that behind the story of Annabelle. But, that's where I saw that from. So the doll itself is nothing with the doll. It's just an empty vessel, okay? But the name Annabelle does belong to someone and it's all within the elite. And y'all got to understand is they probably made the movie because they needed some energy. You understand what I'm saying? They needed some energy. Ed and Lorraine Warren, they were known for doing books. They were known for doing these movies. Just do some research on them. They were not on the up and up. I love the movies because I love horror films, but I don't have any respect for Ed and Lorraine Warren just because so many things have been, said about them that their things were not true. And I think it's their son-in-law. He heads a lot of the things that they do right now. And it's basically history repeating itself. The tour that they're on is basically just to go to psychic events, things of that nature, occult events, and all that kind of stuff like that. I think they're headed to San Antonio, Texas next. And so they came to New Orleans where like ghost tours are. And if you know what I know, a lot the ghost tours on New Orleans are just full of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just another hoax, okay? So do not that is not the same thing as with that. It had nothing to do with the Nottoway Plantation. That doll does not hold any power, but the real story behind it does exist. And we got to stop participating in their mess, okay? Because that's taking our energy, okay? We got to withdraw ourselves. You got to know what's real and what's not real, okay? And again, I'm going to be coming to give y'all the information to help y'all open up y'all's mind so you can see it for yourself, or just tap in and see what you see, okay? So, it's all to keep us in an uproar. Like they knew bringing Annabelle to New Orleans. Come on now. Come on. They getting desperate. They getting desperate. Things must be slacking up. People are finding the truth out, and the people, meaning us black people, they've always wanted to take from our energy. They've needed our energy. They've needed it. But they no longer get to have it. Okay, so I hope you guys got your questions answered. Please like, share, and comment. Put your, I love to hear your thoughts on how you feel and your input. And I felt like y'all needed to know this information. And I'm really just blown away by the Nottoway Plantation. Like I said, it really just blew me away. And like I'm itching so bad to tell y'all what they do, but I can't do and I can't do it. I can't blow up their spot. But please believe me when I tell you they're here. They're here right now. All right. Let me know y'all thoughts, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.